Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So today we're going to talk about numbers, models, and confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is what happens when you're certain of something. So you seek out evidence that supports your theory, and you ignore, well, everything else. Anything that could suggest that you're wrong. It happens a lot, and you will see it with people who research, quote, certain theories. They look for things that support that theory and then don't look at anything that might cast doubt on it. That is confirmation bias. A large portion of the conservative movement in the United States is currently suffering from this. Those models, those numbers that we've all been worried about, they're being dropped. They're getting lower and lower. They're being revised constantly by people who know what they're doing, what they're looking at. Because these numbers are getting lower, this is proof positive for many in the conservative movement within the United States that this was all overblown, that it was media hysteria, that it was overhyped, that it wasn't really that big of a deal, that instead we all should have just gone about our business and sacrificed ourselves on the altar of Wall Street. Got to save the economy. It's just going to be some old people, some compromised people, maybe a few healthy people, but you know, if you're going to make an omelet, got to break some eggs, right? And as they point to these numbers, they refuse to take into account the fact that, you know, large portions of the country have been on lockdown for a month on Instagram, posting selfies like mugshots. This will be spun in an attempt to prove that Dear Leader was right. Dear Leader was wrong. He's pretty much always wrong. Those models reflect the tenacity and the drive of those governors who took up the mantle of acting president when the Oval Office became a vacant seat, because we don't have leadership. We have somebody, well, going by intuition, with a panel of experts surrounding him, contradicting him. Had this been done sooner, those numbers would be even lower. This is something that could have been avoided. It could have been mitigated had the president, Dear Leader, listened to those experts around him, not gutted the CDC, not getting rid of the National Security Council pandemic response team, not canned or forced out people who were monitoring the very area this probably started. The one action the president took that he likes to constantly take credit for, shutting down air travel from China. Yeah, well, as it turns out, it does appear that most cases in New York, well, they came from Europe. Half measures are half effective. And as we watch those numbers decline, and we all take a deep sigh of relief, we need to remember that there are going to be those who try to spin that politically and who try to take credit for the very policies they opposed as they advocated for their constituents, whom they showed no regard for, to go out and just go on about their day. Now they want to claim credit for the actions of those who said stay home and the outcome that can only be attributed to that. And understand, it's not over. We are still in for a very bumpy ride. And even once those numbers drop and get real low, we're still going to have to keep this up until we develop a treatment. Things are going to change in a big way. That's why it's more important than ever to push back against a false narrative like this. Because if people start to believe that it was overhyped, that it was media hysteria, and they get back out there as soon as it starts to clear up, it's going to flare right back up. And we're going to be right back where we started. And we're going to have to go through all of this again. We have to remain vigilant. And if we don't, those models, they're just going to get longer. And the longer they go on, the higher those numbers are going to be. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good night.